determination to win was still there.
We want to make some NHRA history, and the only way you do that is by winning championships.
You don't ask Bobby Unser when you can do it when he's the boss.
I'm not going to have to punch a time card the rest of my life. This is what I want to do, and I think I can make a living doing it.
If I don't get in that, and I don't live it, well, then you're not going to win.
Newport, Tennessee's Jimmy Owens has earned a lot of bragging rights and a couple of nicknames. He's won more than 500 features, including most of those big dollar prizes that help define dirt late model racing. He's the Newport Nightmare, or the O Show. Maybe he'll tell us which of those nicknames he prefers. But the Owens success story is much more than checkered flags and victory celebrations. He is one of the most popular drivers in the sport, universally known for his appreciation of the fans and his fondness for his son. Here's another thing. You very rarely see Jimmy Owens get mad. Well, unless he's arguing with his cousin, who's also his crew chief, over the setup of the car. Is he really as nice a guy as he appears? Call it the profile of a champion. Jimmy is the dominant force in the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series.
The 9-year history of the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series has been a study in domination. Earl Pearson Jr. won the first 4 championships, then Scott Bloomquist went back-to-back. Since 2011, the dominant force has been the Newport Nightmare, Jimmy Owens. He is chasing his 4th consecutive championship. Maybe he'll tell us the secret to his success. Welcome, Jimmy. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
So, guys who win multiple championships all end up having to answer this same question, because actually it's a pretty good question. Which one means the most to you and why?
Probably our first one. It was just a really tight points battle. Scott was having an exceptional year, and he's having a few bad lucks in and out, and we were just keeping our nose to the grindstone and running, and it came down to he pretty much had the race, had the points almost sewed up, and then we were at Rome, Georgia racing, and he lost an engine. And we left out of Rome with about a 50-point lead, which isn't very much in Lucas. And it pretty much boiled down to the last race, and the media, they were driving me crazy because I guess no one had ever beat Scott or something like that, and it was hectic. I was ready to punch some people.
What prompted you to go racing, and how did it happen that you won your very first race?
Well, my brother Kurt, he's raced, and you know, racing's been in our family since I can remember, and it's all I've ever wanted to do. And you know, we started racing with David Prizer. He moved to his shop and started racing out of there. Then we built me a car, and you know, David's kind of took care of me and helped me through all the years and everything. And we've got our first car built there, and so I kind of knowed the ropes in and out of what all you needed to do, and they'd help people race here and there, and so they'd always coach them through this and through that, and I always just kind of sat back in the back and listened and paid attention. So, you know, when we went to Kingsport that first race, I really felt like I knew what I was doing, even though I'd never been in the car. And I guess, learned from everyone else's mistakes.
So, what is the secret to your success?
Just our whole team. We've all been together our whole lives, and Chris and Kenny and all of us, we've all raced, and we know what each other's thinking, and we've learned how to finish races and just keep our heads and stay cool in situations.
Would you consider yourself a points racer?
Oh,
Do you like that term?
I don't like it. I don't like racing for points. It's just, I guess today's economy, it's a surefire way to get paid.
Race announcers tend to like nicknames. I know I've given a bunch of them to dirt track motorcycle racers over the years, and my impression is that announcers and fans probably care a lot more about that than the drivers themselves. What about your case? You have 2 nicknames, Newport Nightmare and the O Show. Do you have a preference between those 2, or do you care what people call you?
I guess I prefer the Nightmare a little better, because our hometown, now that we're getting a little more popular, they're real proud of us, and you know, we go through town and meet people, and they're all saying hey and all that stuff. So that name kind of sticks out, and I like it the best, I guess.
Do you think of yourself as a guy who strikes fear into the hearts of your competitors, who gives them nightmares?
No, by no means. They're probably afraid to race with me, afraid I'll run over them or something.
The Dave Despain Show is brought to you by Carlisle Tools, designed by technicians for technicians. Available exclusively at Napa. And by Lucas Oil Products, made in America and sold to the world.
So tell me about the transition from street stock to dirt modified. I mean, you became King Kong in the modifieds. How did that transition happen?
Well, toward the end of the '94 season of street stock, we'd pretty much won our first championship there. It was a track championship, and there was a couple races left in the season, and so I started driving modified for Ernie Hartzell. And we drove it a couple of races there, and then they asked if I wanted to drive it toward the end of this season or for the next season. So I thought, well, sure. And so I used the money that I sold my street stock and used that money to come to Florida to Speed Weeks. And so we're down in Florida racing. And
so you jumped right into the deep end.
I go big or go home, right?
How'd it work out?
We tore up a lot of stuff. Like I said, it was a big learning curve, and toward the end of the week, we got our stuff together. I used Kurt, my brother, I used his 9-to-1 late model engine, and we finally put it in there, and that brought us to life. And we run third our very last race and was battling for the lead, and got into the leader, and he spun out, and they made me go to the back and made it from the tail back up to third. So I was pretty happy.
So you had figured out in the course of those 10 races how to pass cars and how to go forward.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You ended up with 4 championships in the modifieds. You still build the loose gruff modified chassis, so your connection to that division continues. Is that a love affair? Is it a good business? What keeps you connected to that world?
First, I didn't even like the modifieds. I didn't even like the way they look because I'm used to full-bodied cars. And so I like the big cars. I wanted to run late models and stuff, but I always wanted to travel and race. And so the modifieds with UMP and IMCA give me that opportunity to go to a different track and have the same car and the same competitiveness. And so that just kind of, the more I raced it, the more I growed and learned to like it. And we just decided, we'd run them for a year, and I decided to start building them on my own. And hopefully that business will grow down through the years, and I'll be able to give someone the opportunity that I've been given.
So you'd like to have a modified team or a late model team?
It's expensive to do this stuff, and so I'm hoping that business will grow to where I'm able to do that, get into a modified team.
You're driving for Mike Reese now. That's been a very successful relationship. And he says that he hired you for 2 reasons. One, you get up on the wheel and get the job done on the racetrack. And 2, you're very fan-friendly. And the example he cites is a race in Australia where you sat and signed autographs like Richard Petty in the old days for 3 hours after the race was over. A cynical guy might say, well, yeah, he's selling T-shirts the whole time, so that's a good business decision. I sense there's more to it than that. What is it that makes you so fan-friendly?
I just remember, when I was a kid, the impact drivers had on me. And the first time I walked up to a race driver and he acknowledged me and shook my hand and everything, I remember how that made me feel. And that's how I want to be remembered. I want the kids to say, hey, man, that guy's awesome. And it's cool that he walked. And when you walk up to a kid and their parents standing there and they say, you know who that it is? And they're like, no. And they say, well, that's the guy that drives this car, and their eyes light up. That's the best feeling in the world when you see them kids like that. And I used to race because I love it, and now I race because I love seeing them.
Everybody that I talk to says the same thing. Jimmy Owens is the nicest guy in late model racing. And I hear that and I think, even the nicest guy gets wronged on the track sometimes, gets mad. What does it take to make you mad?
I don't really get too upset on the track because, you're out there to win. And if you get mad and do when you get mad, you do irrational things. And if someone hits me or something, it'll be like, doggone you, but it's over. That's as far as it goes, because if you retaliate, then you're not going to finish. Then if you don't finish, you don't win no points, or you don't win money for that night. So it didn't take me long to figure out that, hey, it doesn't pay off to get angry.
Will you go have a word with the guy if you think you've been really wronged on the track? Will you go say something afterward and talk it out?
When you normally make it a race or two, get everybody time to cool down, and you don't. I've learned you don't walk up to somebody's pit that night. It's not a good idea.
You learned that the hard way?
Yeah.
Your cousin, Chris Fox, is crew chief on the car. One thing I do hear is that occasionally, if the two of you don't agree on something, I presume about setting up the car, that the disagreements can get pretty heated. And somebody looking in who didn't know you guys might think you were about ready to kill each other. Is that true?
Well, if anyone could make me mad, it'd be him. He and I have been together so long that you know how it is. Everybody gets under everybody's skin once they've been around each other so long. But you know, it stays at the racetrack. We love each other a ton, but sometimes you'd think we'd want to kill each other.
James Essex is the series announcer. He's interviewed you so many times in so many winter circles. And he says it's fascinating because the Jimmy Owens that you interview after winning one of the biggest races of the year is exactly the same guy that you interview after winning some local hole-in-the-wall race. There doesn't seem to be any difference. Do you feel that way about it?
Yeah, pretty much. I've always just loved to race. You know, it's good to win money. You like that, but still, I just love winning. And one race compared to the next, because we race against the best in the business every weekend. So when you go out and win a World 100 or North-South, it's the same as winning a regular weekly show.
For all the bonus footage, log on to mavtv.com.
You made a decision 6 years ago to run the Lucas Oil Series and race for the championship. Finished second to Bloomquist twice in the points, and then went on your winning streak, championship streak. What prompted that decision to go ahead and run for this championship?
A lot of it, you know, we ran close to 80% of the races, because where we're located, it was real easy to travel between 5 and 6 hours and hit a Lucas show and race for pretty good money. And then most of the supporting series around our area, they started dwindling down, so it got a little tougher to race for what I would say a guaranteed purse. And so we just thought, you know, we're already running close to 80% of the Lucas shows. We might as well just run the rest of them, and then we'll maybe get to fight for the points lead and get the points fun at the end of the year, kind of thing.
Average age of the top 10 guys in the Lucas Oil Series is 41. You're 42, so you're right in that range. Billy Moyer Jr. is really the only kid under 30. You veterans with a lot of experience make it pretty hard on the young kids trying to break in. You tend to have long careers. Why is that?
I think mostly because, you know, dirt racing is the tracks are constantly changing, cars are constantly changing, and we're still in a big learning curve. Everybody's learning every race, and I think your veterans, just the experience of knowing what to do in long situations, and you're able to just pretty much adapt a little better than the younger guys.
It would seem at your age that you could do this series for a long time. Billy Moyer's mid-50s. You could have another 15 years. Is that the way you see it unfolding? Do you want to race late models that long? And what do you want to do after dirt late models?
Well, I've always told everybody I'm going to be that guy that they're going to say he needs to give it up because he just ain't got it no more. He needs to get out of everybody's way. So I'm going to race late models as long as they'll let me be in their way.
So you're okay with that? If you're the guy in the back that's in the way and you're still out there doing it?
Washed up, has been, he ain't got it no more. I'm okay because I just love doing it.
You go out there and clean the walls off for the guys till you're as old as you can stand it.
Exactly.
Over the years, there have been a lot of different series. Everybody that created a new series, I'm sure, thought they had all the right ideas and were going to solve all of late model racing's problems. What do the Lucas Oil people do right that keeps you coming back to this series?
They just treat everybody equal. You know, we feel like when you're racing, you feel like you've got a family there. And we all get heated and hot at each other at the track sometimes, but someone's always got your back, and it's good to race and know that you're on the road and you're going to get home and things like that. And so it's fair, everybody's treated the same, and everybody's treated like somebody.
So if everybody can get all the same stuff, what do you and your team have figured out week in and week out that puts you on top of this championship, that makes you the guy going for 4 straight?
Well, we're able to build our own stuff and just do our own setups, and you know, we've learned a lot with Owens shocks and all them guys, and they've helped us out to have real good shock packages and stuff like that. And I think right now we're a little ahead of everybody on that.
When you're the traveling guy and you show up at the racetrack and you see the local guy, does that kind of remind you of where you came from, or are they just more guys you got to beat?
Oh, that was it kind of reminds me where I come from, and it reminds me of a deal was at our home track, and my mom used to come watch me race all the time. And when my brother run late models, she'd be there, and she'd come in. She says, "Oh, the big boys are in town today. You got your money, you got your work cut out for you." And I was up at the souvenir trailer, and we walked up to the edge of the grandstands there, and Mom looked down in there, and she says, "Well, the big boys are in town. You got your work cut out for you." And I kind of laughed. I was like, "Yeah, Mom." I said, "We race against them every week now." And that kind of made me feel